know that epigenetics, when they come out of your genes, so you have your DNA, but when an epigenetic is unlocked, that's when these diseases and these issues occur. And so you've got to really address these issues in the body, and you've got to support the body so that does not keep happening. Epigenetics occur from environmental factors. So I want you to know, Sean.
Okay, guys, got Dr. Christina here from the Root Brands. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, you've been on a crazy journey.
I have been a little bit busy like you.
Yeah, you guys are everywhere, no doubt. But let's take it from the top. I know you started really young with this stuff, right?
Yes, I did.
4 years old?
4 years old, I really had a connection with, I remember sitting there, I was actually playing tea with my sister, and I was crying because some stuff had happened. And I felt I was taught to pray, since I was little, and I felt an instant connection and felt God coming and holding me. And I know this sounds odd to be that little, but it truly happened. And I was told that I was loved and I was here to love others and I was okay and everything would be okay. And I didn't have a horrible childhood, but it really changed my life probably forever. And you're so little, you don't understand, but I didn't doubt it. I never have doubted it, by the way, my connection with God and spiritually understanding why I'm here.
That's important. I think a lot of people neglect the spiritual aspect of life.
I do too. It was hard for me. I didn't really realize, I've had 4 children and they're adults, but I didn't realize everyone doesn't go through that when they're little. So now I really had to adjust my thinking to understand that people come into a spiritual journey at different ages. Everyone's different. And sometimes people never connect spiritually.
Wow.
And on this journey, I feel like you can't be successful unless you have that connection. I really do. I don't think you can fully be whole and do the mission you're supposed to do on this earth unless you have that.
Yeah, because in the biohacking space, you see a lot of clips about, blood work and focusing on the physical health.
Yeah.
But then the spiritual health, you don't see them talk about it too often.
No, and I'm so glad you brought that up because even, I worked in pharmaceutical and biotech for a while, and I would look at trials we would go in to treat someone with a rare disease because a lot of times we did investigator-sponsored trials, and the only reason they would be able to be in our trial as if there was no hope, right? They weren't going to live. And so, but I would see we were getting ready to go treat them, and all of a sudden a tumor or a disease was gone. And we would ask why. I remember asking, my parents said I've always asked why constantly. They should say, please stop asking why. I talked to them last weekend about it. They said it was crazy. It was just why.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was God. But what we found is that it was a combination of 2 things with almost everyone. They would either change nutritionally what they were doing, or they would be on certain supplements or do some kind of Eastern type of medicine that was different, that was alternative. And the one thing we kept finding is they had a spiritual connection regardless of the religion. So this is something that really changed my ability of thinking spiritually as well, is understanding that it wasn't just one religion. It was spiritually connecting to God and believing in the fact that they needed to be here on this earth and they would get better.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the power of the mind and the subconscious too.
I think it's part of it because I feel like if you're really connected, we know now as scientists, not every scientist, but through my research and through the studies and my education, I understand that some individuals on this earth, Sean, have more of a connection where they actually can feel how someone else is feeling across the table or connect and even have the power to change things because they're using their energetic, spiritual connection in the cells in their body because every cell you have in your body talks. And I think people forget that. So if you think about the human population on this earth, you and I are sitting here talking, right? But think about in your body, what are your cells saying to each other? And what are your cells saying to me? Because they're alive energetically. And I think if we could all realize that, we would treat our bodies differently and we would listen more internally to what's happening and spiritually connect.
Absolutely. And not only cells talk to each other, right? It's parasites and viruses too.
100%. You come into this world and the minute you're born, whatever's in your mother's body is going to the baby. So if your mother has heavy metals or was around anything during a war zone or drinking water with lead or mercury, this is going to the baby. Your body can filter some of that. But now because we have so many toxins, we realize that more and more of that is being passed down genetically, which is why you have such an increase in mental health, cognitive functioning issues, and autism and everything else. Because you're coming into the world.
The Tri-Light from Therasage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light, deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Light from Therasage, and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared, from 580 to 980 nanometers. Optimal penetration, enhanced energy, skin rejuvenation, pain relief, better performance, quicker recovery, and so much more. Therasage has been leading the game for over 25 years, and this panel is FDA listed and USB powered. Ultra soft and flexible and ultra portable. On-body red light therapy I use daily, and I take it everywhere I travel. This is the Thera O3 Ozone module from Therasage. It's a portable ozone and negative ion therapy in one. It boosts oxygen, clears and sanitizes the air, and even helps your mood. It's a total game changer at home or on the go. This little device is the Thera O3 Ozone module by Therasage, and it's one of my favorite wellness tools. In the sauna, it boosts ozone absorption through your skin up to 10 times, oxygenating your blood and supporting deep detox. Outside the sauna, it purifies the air, killing germs, bacteria, viruses, and mold, and it improves mood and sleep with negative ion therapy. It's compact, rechargeable, and perfect for travel, planes, offices, hotel rooms, you name it. It's like carrying clean energy wherever you go. This is the Thera H2 Go from Therasage, the only bottle with molecular hydrogen structured water and red light in one. It hydrates, energizes, and detoxes water upgraded. The Thera H2 Go from Therasage isn't just a water bottle, it's next level hydration. It infuses your water with molecular hydrogen, one of the most powerful antioxidants out there. That means less oxidative stress, more energy, and faster recovery. But here's what makes it stand out. It's the only bottle that also structures your water and adds red light to supercharge it. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
You have bacteria, you have viruses, and now we have more than we've ever had. And then when you have parasites and fungus, the parasites grow in the fungus, and everything's communicating. So if your cells aren't healthy, they can't balance that. And that's why we're having so many issues.
Wow. So that's really common then, the parasites and the fungus?
Yes. So think about this. I always say to people, let's think about because, we accept so many things we hear or see. And I really want us to dig into the real truth about things. But if you think about it, it was like during the pandemic, right? People were like, it's not sexually transmitted. Well, how in the heck can you be 6 feet away and transmit something? But when you have sex, it's not transmitted. Same thing with like Lyme's disease, right? They have spiral sheets. And when people say that can't be sexually transmitted, well, explain to me how, because there's a viral component to Lyme's disease, right? And then in my mind as a scientist, there's a parasitic component. So tell me how we wouldn't transfer that as people if we were in a sexual relationship. I'm just speaking the truth. I want people to start realizing that. It's a real thing. And so you've really got to get your cells to really up the ante and be stronger. And to do that, you have to give the tools to your body so they can. Because your job, because all these things are in our body, we're the host. So, all these science fiction movies, there's some truth to it. As a scientist, I watch them. When I watch the zombie movies and I see the mushrooms and the fungus, really, that it's in the brain, that really can't happen. And I don't think people understand that. I'm not a zombie person, watching the movies all the time, but I've seen them. And there's always a bit of truth to that. And I think what we have to understand is we either evolve and accept that and we give ourselves the tools to live to be 130, or we decide we're just going to give in and let all these things that are attacking inside our body take over, and we can't do that.
You mentioned Lyme disease earlier. That you were one of the first humans to be officially diagnosed with that, right?
Yes, I was 19. They were still, it was questionable in the health community. A lot of doctors to this day don't understand Lyme's disease, but back then, so think about, 20 plus years ago, and actually more than that. I was 19, so I'm 56 now. So it was a long time ago. And a friend of mine, Maria Menounos, was one of the first as well, and she was younger than me. But it's interesting, we both ended up having brain tumors after that. So it's no one understood Lyme's disease. They didn't understand where it comes from. And I'm sure your audience is wondering, that's true. How does a new virus come into play, right?
Yeah.
Why is it here? Did someone make the virus? Did scientists put it together? Or is it just a natural part of our habitat? And then the debate is going to go on and on about that. I have my own opinion. But when I had that, I lost my memory. I was making straight A's in school my whole life, really good at math, really good at science, writing, and lost everything.
Holy
I
crap.
couldn't remember my parents' name, where my address was. I was in North Carolina. A friend was there with me. And no one understood really what was happening. And then even my own parents questioned Lyme disease because a lot of your medical community, especially in the small towns, and I grew up in a small town, they didn't believe in it. So if you really look at the progression of medical cases in the world, when there's something new, it takes literally 30, 40 years, sometimes 50, sometimes longer for the medical community to catch up.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's scary with the COVID vaccine, though,
Yeah.
because we don't even know the full effects.
No, and I had a conversation this morning about this with a pretty high thought leader about the fact that what people haven't understood, and I think people need to realize, I'm actually not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-pharmaceutical biotech person. I'm for humanity. That's what I say all the time. Like my stance, even politically, is for humanity. Like I refuse to spiritually ever let my guard down where I put money or power over people. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be here to really try to help humanity from a health and science perspective. And when you look at the number of vaccines, so when you have 44 different vaccines and every day there's more, how does the human body respond to that? Because when you give someone a vaccine, you're lowering basically the immunity. You're giving them either a virus or a simulated virus. So then what if they already have a virus? How is the body reacting? And I think we'd really need to dig into that more. And I know it's not a popular conversation, but for me, again, people need to understand everything they put in their body. Let's go back to this. What if it makes a parasite grow stronger? What if it makes fungus grow in the body? So maybe you're treating something and it's effective in a study, right, that's published. But what are all the side effects and what's going on around that? And I think that's why you've got to look at the overall story with people and you have to support their individual decisions. But we have an obligation in the scientific community and in what you do with your influence with the politicians. We have in my opinion, an obligation to tell the truth and tell the full story, not just part of the story.
Right. It seems like politics and health are intersecting a lot this election, right?
Yes, and I understand that because health. If you think about it, money and health. Like when you have a lot of money, what I think I've dealt with in my life is different times I have, right? But if I don't have my health, how can I be here to raise my children? How can I be here to talk to you? So wealthy people and people empowering to understand our health is important and we deserve to have a really good story and a good foundation when it pertains to that. We don't want to be lied to, but that applies to the general population as well. And so this is something that I think we have to understand. It can be a political topic or it can become a topic about how we're going to thrive as humanity.
Yeah.
And that means you're going to have to put some of the politics and the power in the backseat.
Agreed. I know a lot of people with cancers right now and the medical bills they're showing me, you wouldn't believe some of these numbers. It's crazy.
I would believe it.
Yeah, you've probably seen it firsthand, dealing with it and seeing people, but 6 figures. I mean, most people can't afford that.
Sometimes it's, $500,000. It was a human monoclonal antibody for a rare disease. And I think what you may not know about me, and Clayton may not have shared this, I used to run a company as a CEO, and during the Pioneer ACO, I was approved in every area of healthcare to track per diagnosis, what is the best pathway of care, and how much does that cost society, right? So it was really population management, predictive modeling, but I looked at it differently. My goal was to make everyone have health care, what they needed, regardless of where they lived and the economic status. It's virtually impossible to do, right?
Really?
But it was really one of the missions that I've carried and I still carry. We have patient registries in 80 countries trying to track data and look at how should we treat patients.
Wow. So you were seeing all the numbers behind the scenes?
Yeah, it wasn't a popular thing I was doing back then. In fact, I think I shared with you the most I've lost in business. I started really investing in the data analysis because I do a lot of statistical algorithms, and I really wanted to find out what do we do for every rare disease. I didn't anticipate back then, I have to be honest with you, the growth of cancer, the growth of autoimmune disorders. And what I really didn't anticipate was the cognitive functioning and neurodegenerative diseases that you're saying with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, autism, ADHD. It is unbelievable what we're seeing right now. Depression in children. Like you're a female population with anxiety. I just was not prepared for how high that would go. And
Yeah.
it's really,
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.
the numbers are astonishing right now.
I've heard that with the females, especially the younger ones, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a project in the UK for their school system. I'm one of the women that are trying to empower women, younger generations that from 13 to 15, they have such a like suicidal rate, homicidal, and depression and anxiety. They're trying to empower women by using other women to tell them, have hope, have faith. Here's what you can do with your future.
Yeah. That's so sad to hear at those ages.
I know.
That's even a thing.
But it's a real thing. So I want to tell you, it's not fake. It's interesting, even in my family and friends and the people I'm around. Every day I'm hearing about cancer. I'm hearing about depression, anxiety. And I keep trying to figure out, is it the pandemic? Is it the economy? Is it the vaccines? Is it the GMOs in our food? Is it the pollution? And here's what I'm saying, what I really believe, it's a combination. So we are at a critical point, and to ignore that critical point is to ignore our future generations. So I feel like the mission I have in my life is to really help solve some of these issues or help with these issues. It has to be a group effort. So we have to have people like you and other people that are willing to tell the truth and share the stories that are real.
Right. Because a big part of your philosophy is just detoxing the body, right?
It is. And that means spiritually too, by the way. If you're, and I say this constantly to people, when I talk detox, I mean emotional, mental, psychological, and physical detox. And that means waking up every day and realizing maybe what you need to get rid of in your life and then what you need to support. And that's so important. Going back to the cells talking, if you're mentally ill or sick and I'm around that all the time and my cells are basically not as strong as yours, then you're going to impact me. So every day I feel like energetically and spiritually, I've got to get rid of any bad energy, anything negative, detoxing my body. I made products, one of them was Clean Slate. It was really important to me to get rid of the things in my body because I had Lyme disease, because of the spiral sheets. They never actually leave. So I just want to say that when you have cancer and someone says you're in remission, it's not gone. It's in the body. It imprints. And so it's hiding. But what your goal has to be is similar to HIV. HIV, if you can keep it lower, it won't become AIDS, right? And you do that by creating different tools and different blockades that you give the body. It's like a cocktail, right? So with other people, really now I want them to give their body cocktails to lower any kind of autoimmune disorder or cancer and to lower the mental health issues, because you just want to support the cells of the body. And sometimes that is pharmaceutical. There's no option. So everybody in the room here right now probably had some incident or their family did where pharmaceuticals saved their lives. And I just want to say that because I don't want to bash an industry which has saved people. But on the flip side of that, the long-term side effects of a lot of things are negative for us, right? So you've really got to look at humanity and say, what should each person do? Unfortunately, not everyone has the money to do that or the time. But you educating people through your network of the possibilities, then they get to make their decisions. And some changes for your body are not that hard. Spiritually speaking, you can make a decision every day. And I believe meditation and prayer and really focusing spiritually on what you have is a must for everyone. That should be the first thing people do in the morning. Working out, of course, is very important physically. But if you can't get your mind straight, what are you going to do the rest of the day? And that's a fact.
Absolutely. I'll say this. When my mental health was at its worst in college, my physical health was just as bad. 100%. I think there's a direct link, right?
There's a direct link. I mean, I've had times in my life where I was mentally not where I should be. I didn't really tell people that, but like after each child, I was depressed. I was crying all the time. And how do you function in an optimal during that point? You don't is the answer. You can't. So you've got to really get that part straight first.
Postpartum depression. I just had a guest talk about this and they tried giving her antidepressants while she's breastfeeding. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And I've worked on different antidepressants. And one of the reasons I worked on Zero In was because I was so tired of, again, I understand when some people have to be on medication, but the problem is when you go off of that medication, the side effect profile and what happens is horrific sometimes. And another thing, if you stay on those long term, the side effects, and they say it on television all the time, are suicide, homicide, death, depression, anxiety. But you're like, that's why I'm taking this. You're like, that's why I was taking this product. So you have to be really careful. And that's why I always try to choose natural things first, because to give your body something that accumulates side effects over time is not something positive long term.
Yeah. The side effects are longer than the commercial sometimes.
The commercials well, I mean, when you're watching them, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Now they add, if you have a parasitic or fungal infection, please let your doctor know. And the reason they're saying this, and I want to go back to a question you said previously, if our animals have parasites and worms, then why wouldn't we? And let me just say this, if you look at hookworms, roundworms, you look at pinworms, your animals can have those and they can give those to people. If you were in Africa or South Africa or Malaysia, I could go on and on, in the Asian countries, they understand that, right? So you're being treated regularly for parasites, understanding they're everywhere. In the United States, this has not been a traditional thing. In fact, when I watch all those commercials, I'm thinking, how would the person know they have parasites? Are you testing them for parasites? Do they even have any idea? And so for me, it's a continuous thing that people should be on to detox their body from heavy metals, from toxins, from parasites, from fungus, and from everything else that's in their body. We do know that epigenetics, when they come out of your genes, so you have your DNA, but when an epigenetic is unlocked, that's when these diseases and these issues occur. And so you've got to really address these issues in the body, and you've got to support the body so that does not keep happening. Epigenetics occur from environmental factors. So I want you to know, Sean, when I was younger in my 20s, we didn't even understand that. We thought, oh, they have Alzheimer's, it's because of ApoE gene, right? Now we realize there's environmental factors involved, like fungus and parasites and other things. We didn't know that for years as scientists, and doctors didn't either. So now you've really got to change your reference. And some of this stuff, because I've worked in so many countries, I get pretty upset about, this is one of my flaws. I get very upset about ignorance. I'm not saying stupidity.
Yeah.
I'm getting upset about ignorance because in the United States, we only want to see what we see here in this box. And I always say, don't put yourself in a box.
Right.
You can't thrive. You're going to put yourself in a box. So for me, we've got to really wake up. You can't tell me that there's parasites in Nigeria and there's not in the United States, right? You can't tell me the animals there are giving those to humans or we're not. And you can't tell me that's not impacting our health. And so it's just very, very important to understand the cells energetically are impacted by all these things, and then they cannot protect the immune system. Your P450 system, which are enzymes and different things going throughout the body with IL-2, IL-4, they control really a lot of your health. And if they're overloaded by all these negative environmental factors, which do cause all these diseases and autoimmune disorders, then your body's just going to shut down.
Yeah, parasites are no joke.
They're no joke.
I remember the first time I got my body scanned for them, I stopped eating sushi immediately.
Okay, so this is a fact. I really want to talk about this fact because I love sushi.
I love it too.
And I love oysters. And I just gave up oysters because I know what's in them. So think about me. I'm traveling. I'm in Dubai. I'm having oysters. I'm in, pick a country, right? I love it. But the more and more I've researched it, the more I understand if you're going to eat it, then you are going to be exposed to all these things. And definitely even raw meat. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to stop and think. And if they're going to do that, then if they have to, then you're going to have to do a parasitic cleanse, like with ivermectin, fugomycin. There's all different kinds of things people can use.
You think it's in raw milk too?
I think it is. I think that there's a lot of stuff in raw milk, though, that we haven't analyzed. And so one of the things about parasites and amoebas and worms and different things is when there's a new breed, you can't always see it during the pandemic, or you can't diagnose it because if the science community hasn't seen it, then when the first scientist sees it, it's kind of like when HIV came out, right? It didn't go to the general public. I don't know if you know that. Like when they found HIV, when it was finally released, it was like mass panic.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason I believe, so there's always some truth in a conspiracy theory, right? But there's always some facts that maybe aren't true as well. So you have to put that into perspective. And I really believe that there's some truth to some of the things that have happened to us over the last 5 to 6 years. But I also think it's that we are because we haven't done anything to clean up our world and our bodies, it's a cumulative effect that we have some control of. So I hope your audience hears this. You can't control a government. You can't control a conspiracy, but you can control your own body. You can control what you give yourself as a tool. And if you know you're giving yourself parasites, right? And some of those parasites are new. I'm just going to tell you that. Like during the pandemic, we saw fungus And we saw strains that we had never seen before. So my big issue, if you would go back 5 years and hear me do my podcast, which you'd be like, those were horrible podcasts. But because I'm not great at podcasts like you are, but I did talk about my big concern was actually not the pandemic. My big concern was parasites, and it still is, and fungus. And then I was worried about politically and the economic status as well.
Yeah, it only seems to be getting worse, right?
Yeah. That's why every individual has to focus on their own body. And then I say this constantly. If a virus is going to try to kill someone, and you and I talked a little bit about this before, and I really do want your audience to know this. If you have, for example, any virus, whether it's HIV or whether it is the measles, pick a virus, COVID, there's so many mutations. So it's hard for a vaccine to really capture which mutation you have, which is why the flu vaccine and stuff like that is something I don't take. Because for me personally, how do I know which strain I'm going to be exposed to? So why would I give myself something that could possibly make me sick? That's my personal opinion, right? With HIV, I remember when they trained us, I was working at Bristol Myers Squibb, and they were really trying to figure out how do we help these people. It was probably one of the hardest things I had to come in grips with as a scientist, because I had to study everything. I was in the medical science side of that company. And when I remember sitting in a meeting and they said that the problem is they're having these HIV parties. And we need you guys to educate the patients and the doctors on this. They can't go to the HIV parties. The thought process was if someone already has HIV, well, then you can have sex with them, right? Because you already have it. So if two people have it, then why not have sex together? Then you don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah.
And of course, these are things I was learning as a scientist, and I was shocked because I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even know about these parties. I don't understand what's happening. And then they explained to us that's why some people were dying rapidly, because they were getting different mutations. So you're fighting, so you have HIV, then you get a different mutation of that, and your body just can't handle so many mutations. And that's what I worried about, honestly, during all the vaccines and everything, is that if you lower someone's immune system and then they get it right after or during that, how is their body fighting it? And it was never for me judging whether someone had it or not. It was just, let's tell the whole story. But how do you get that story out there so people can make a personal decision, unless you're on shows like this where people get to understand really what their outlook is. And then I finally do want to say this. There's this whole conspiracy theory that you're going to die if you had a vaccine.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe that.
Really?
No. Because one of the things I've worked on in my career is working with different types of detoxification, whether it's spirulina or wheatgrass or flaxseed. I could go on and on. Turmeric, curcumin, black cumin seed, zeolite, silicas, trying to get things out of the body. So your body's smart. So what you've got to do is give it the tools so it can flush things out. If you can do that, then you can bring your body back to a steady state.
Got it.
So that it has this balance and it's not just caught off guard. Your body can manage diseases and cancer and different things. Your body can detox, but again, you have to give your body the tools to do it.
Yeah, I think people were saying you were going to die if you didn't detox. I think that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Like if you did nothing and you got all 4 of the shots.
I think it's hurt a lot of people. And I wasn't, if you heard any of the podcasts I spoke on, and of course, some people like me, some people like me.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more people like you because I'm a scientist, so they want to debate, my opinions. But I was very concerned about a lot of things. Like I didn't want people that had autoimmune disorders on that. I didn't want older people, and it was the first group they launched.
Right.
I didn't want men that were of childbearing age or women. And then my next thing, and I can't make people do it, but you got to detox things out of your body. If that happens, you don't want spike proteins. You don't want heavy metals in your body. I don't really believe, I'm just saying this, that we actively were trying to kill people. I don't believe that's what happened. That's my personal opinion. I think governments didn't know what to do. The medical community didn't know what to do. But the problem is I'm not even worried about that. So I always go back to what is my center? What am I here for? And it is to tell people there is hope. There are things you can do. Whether you use my products or another product, you've got to get all of those heavy metals out of your body. There's no positive aspect to that. And I want to say that again. There is not a positive aspect to having heavy metals in your body or spiral sheets. There's not a positive aspect for parasites and fungus to grow. It will kill you if that happens. So you've really got to get all of that out.
Yeah, I had some heavy metal issues. I'm sure it's more and more common these days, but I found out it was the water brand I was drinking.
Yeah, some of your bottled water.
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
There was so much heavy metals in the bottled water.
There's actually some bottled water now I won't drink.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. And they've actually found, like you said, they found stuff in the water.
Yeah.
And in some of the products. So people don't know this either. Your vitamins, your minerals, your leaves, your teas, your coffees, they hang on to mycotoxins and microplastics. So one of the things when I was studying what I wanted to do with silicas and zeolites and black cumin seed and turmeric curcumin is how do we break down microplastics? Because 15 years ago, I was worried about it. 20 years ago, I was worried about it.
Back then, you were worried about plastics?
Yeah. I knew what was happening. We have a very good friend too, Eric Pike, that helped clean up the oceans and water by really helping with the microplastics. They actually worked with Patagonia. They got a grant. They were the ones that first came out with the straws.
The Life Straw? Oh, nice.
Yeah, he worked on trying to really help with getting rid of all that. And we connected. Clayton was with me when I met him. We all connected because I understood that and I talked about it, where the mass majority of the population didn't. And to this day, there's a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. But I will tell you, when I go meet with governments, they talk to me about it. They understand. And there's not, right now, one of the things I'm getting ready to do is do a lot of research on the products I've worked on and how effective they are, because I want more data so we can show people, because I don't make claims on the products. I have to be very careful. They're nutraceuticals. But scientifically, I'd like to educate people. And now I'm going in more for clinical studies, really to find out how, like, I know we get rid of heavy metals. I know we get rid of microplastics, but I want to find out how well we're doing it and how I can improve upon it. I've never worked on a product where I think I don't need to make it better. It's kind of like you getting up every day and doing a podcast or really interacting with people to make changes. So every day, I'm sure you want to be better. And that's how I feel as a scientist, because if I just stop, then I don't keep producing things that can make our world a better place.
Absolutely. Do we know the extent of the damage microplastics is causing right now?
I think because we really did not address it. It's in the fish. I know you know that.
Yeah.
It's in our clothing. One of the reasons I started a clothing brand was because of that. It really is not because I want to be a fashion. I love fashion, but and I say this constantly, I really, really love it. Like I enjoy it, but that's not why I did it. I'm not a designer. I'm an engineer. And I wanted to make clothing that would protect against the environment as well as get rid of microplastics. And they're in our clothing, they're touching our skin. And people don't understand this. Your skin is 80% and it's bioavailable. So anything you're putting on your skin is going into your bodies. And that includes your clothes. So for me, this was an issue a long time ago, but it was just something that the general public didn't understand.
Yeah, because the polyester in the apparel, right, is made out of plastic.
Yeah, your hemp is like something really good for clothing. You still have to sometimes detox hemp, but I don't know if you know this. Hemp basically repels fungus and mold.
Really?
Oh yeah. In
Wow.
fact, there's actually now they're building houses and roads that are protective against that, because it's actually antimicrobial, antibacterial. In all the products I work on, that's my focus: antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, antiparasitic. All the patents I filed, and we get more patents approved every day.
Nice.
We're filing. I have 78. I'm filing 7 that have already been accepted, and then I think we've only had 1 denied, or I've only had 1 at this point, and then 18 more that I just filed, and about 3,000 trademarks.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I love it. So we got to put some hemp in the house then.
Yeah, I need to get more involved in that. We opened manufacturing in South Carolina. We have a manufacturing plant here in Nevada that was strategically chosen because Nevada is dry.
Yeah.
So I didn't want fungus, again, and mold. So there will always be a plant here, because there's certain things I can't make unless it's a very dry climate, because it again, fungus talks, bacteria talks. So if there's any kind of humidity, it just raises the elevation and the communication between all of that. But hemp is something that we do know will protect even in buildings. And, I hate all the black mold and everything that are in the buildings. So it's a focus. It's written in a lot of my patents and a lot of the trademarks that I've done as well.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a house in Florida, the odds of you having some sort of mold are really high.
I know. We just looked at a house. I'm not going to mention the state because I don't want to. But we walked in and Clayton was like, I smell mold. He was like, we can't buy this house. And I go, can't we have someone come and just like clean it all? And it's really hard when you live in those environments. Like you go into the Keys. I love the Keys.
Yeah.
You can smell it. Yeah.
That's the first thing I did when I bought a house. I got a mold test. Even though I'm in the desert, you never know.
Oh, no. I think it's so important. I think it's one of the most important things. People ask me all the time, what do we do? I said, you have to have water filters. And we have so many
Yeah.
because of clay.
You got to send me the pool filter you use. I saw you talk about that on a podcast.
Yeah, we will. We will.
I stopped going in my pool
Yeah.
because of all the chlorine and everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that was clay. He was like, I was like, do we really need to spend the money to do our pool and our shower? He was like, absolutely. And we just, our youngest son just moved to LA. And that was one of the first things he asked Cam for. Cam works with us, is to get something to filter water in a shower because he knows, because we've educated the kids.
Yeah. And people shower every day and they don't
Every
even
day
know.
touches your skin. Yeah, it's so important. And same thing with the air. I don't know if you know this, but like COPD, a lot of your issues with people that have issues with their lungs or respiratory system, it's actually indoor and not outdoor because you lock everything in. And then again, I'm going to go back to this with people. It's breeding. You either have a positive or a negative in life. And that's why I do believe in good and evil. I have to be honest with you. A lot of people don't like that belief. But for me, there's good and bad. There's positive and negative exchanges in life. So you've really got to clean the whole area energetically. And then from a physical perspective, emotional and mental, that includes your house. So your house is an extension of you. But I tell people this constantly. Your only true house you're ever going to have is your body. You're living in it.
But
You should be spending most of your time on what's happening here. But then anything around you, like I don't even like to spend one night. Well, everybody knows this. If I'm in a room that smells like mold, I'm getting moved out of that room. I just can't sleep in it.
there's a lot of old hotels in Vegas.
I know.
Yeah.
I just won't stay. And I got to tell you, even when it smells really strong, like they have,
Oh, the scents in the casinos.
it's really hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just don't want it. So I am always on clean slate when I'm here in clean spirits.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most candles are pretty bad for you, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, because it's made out of unnatural
A
substances.
lot of perfume's really bad for you too.
Yeah, I stopped wearing perfume, like unnatural deodorants.
Yeah. You know, your oils, like you have from the Middle East, your best place to buy like perfume is the Middle East because they use essential oils.
Mm.
I'm not trying to promote the Middle East or anything else. I always say made in the USA is the best thing. There are companies here too. But if you can get an oil based that has nothing added, that's what you're looking for because everything else can cause actually problems for the skin.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about diet stuff because I can't scroll through Instagram without getting diet advice. You've studied all the diets.
I have.
Is there anything major that stood out to you from your research?
You know, I went back, studied in school, and then I went back to Cornell and took extra classes because I wanted to know about nutrition and how I could really help even more. And I was shocked at what I learned. Cornell actually has one of the best nutrition programs in the world, all over the world. They have really amazing people. There's not one diet that people should be on. People just need to understand, like the pyramid is not real. We shouldn't have gone by that. Proteins and vegetables are good for you. But let's put this in perspective. Proteins that are healthy for you, if they're cooking things in peanut oil, for example, or different kinds of nut oil, it's not always good for you. We know now that grass-fed things, for example, and I've always been this person with my kids, organic, grass-fed.
Yeah.
You know, because I grew up on a farm. But then they're finding in some of the human genome projects that some of the problems are the grass, if there's GMOs in the grass. Because here's the thing, Sean, even if something's organic, if the seeds planted there aren't, then you're still getting the GMOs. And GMOs travel, just like a nuclear bomb would travel, right? So they're not staying stationary. So one of the big things that I've always said is you've got to make sure you know where you're getting nutritional products and you add them to your diet to help you. It's not just, should I take vitamin C? It's what vitamin C and have they cleaned that vitamin C, right? With food, we do know, I can tell you at Cornell even, they were talking about organic grass-fed. And then I'm on a phone call with one of the top people that's in this project. And we're looking over the results. And when I realized that some of the issues with colon cancer had to do with this grass-fed organic, I was like, what? And it actually has taken me, I'm still not completely over it.
That's crazy.
I can't get over it. I go shopping and I'm like, what am I supposed to buy?
Wow.
And then when I understand, so like nuts are okay, but the oil to cook in certain nut oil is not good. And avocado oil, we used to think was great.
Right.
Now we know that's not the best either. You really want to use like ghee. Butter is actually okay. But again, I'm just going to be really honest with you, organic butter, right? So I still have not completely made this conversion. I have a lot of GI issues.
Yeah.
So understanding that my diet is so important. But if you ask me, is the Mediterranean diet more important than like the paleo? and Atkins? And the answer is none of those really should be integrated. The Mediterranean is a good diet if you have to choose one, but you've got to remember the other factors surrounding it, right? Your body is different than my body. Intermediate fasting is good for most people, at least 2 to 3 days a week. I do want to state that, but doing that every day is not good for your body. So let's think about this again. Your body's smart. You've got to add tools that make it smarter. So if you're kind of tricking your body inside or making it do push-ups, let's talk about that. We're making the body do push-ups. We're making the body work out because they don't know what's happening next. That makes your body stronger, right? So you want to basically change up what you're doing during the week. You want to give your body the tools it needs, but you don't want to add a lot of carbs. You don't want to add a lot of sugar. If you're choosing coffee or wine, you need to make sure it's been cleaned, or that it doesn't have mycotoxins or things from the environment. Because people don't know this, but even the wine you drink or the coffee you drink can actually be harmful for you. However, wine is so good because of resveratrol, right? The other things that can attach to that were the sulfate and the heavy metals you have to get rid of. Coffee is really good. In fact, we know that certain coffee beans can cause cancer cell apoptosis, which is cancer cell death.
Wow.
But the issue is if the coffee isn't clean, then again, it's like a vaccine or anything else. You're putting the toxins into the body. So you just have to, I don't think people should be worried about it. I think you make daily changes again. Look at it like your body is what you are here to take care of. It's your only home again. So you've got to make the cells and everything inside of the body work more effectively. And that means you have to really give it what it needs. A diet is important, but it has to be the right diet. And then when you choose what it is, again, remember the other factors that I'm talking about. You still have to drink lots of water. You still have to sleep. You need proteins and vegetables. That does not mean you need to do a lot of root vegetables, because root vegetables, which are like potatoes, are not really good for you. Sweet potatoes are better. So it's really more of a longer conversation, but I think it's something that we should do one just on diet at some point.
Yeah, on that.
Because I think it's really important that people understand all the factors. I was shocked when I went back to school. I can't tell you how many times in my life I thought, well, I was wrong about that because I wasn't educated on that before. And that's one thing you'll find out about me when I realize through science that something is, like I wrote a cookbook and I put avocado oil, and I love avocados. They're good for me, but the oil and cooking in it, I just found out a couple of months ago, is not great for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How do you know if the coffee is cleaned?
We clean our coffee. You can look and you can ask the company. I don't know if they'll give you the honest answer. We have certifications and reports. We send ours off for third-party testing. We have a 91% CAP score, even 3 years out. There's no mycotoxins. We're still testing it, which is unheard of. But we chose a coffee, carefully selected, no GMOs. Everything is organic, where it's on a mountain in Guatemala. We are looking at other coffee sourcing right now, but then it goes through a multifaceted process to clean the beans. It was my first stab at one of the patents I wrote to really get rid of mycotoxins and microplastics in the food. I wanted to use a bean because I wanted to see, because it's one of the hardest things to do. And we've done it effectively.
I need to start getting yours, because I doubt I use the pods. I doubt those are cleaned.
Oh, well, we're looking at a pod. So one of the things I did is I wrote a patent on permeable packaging too, as well as food. My goal is to make packaging that people can eat that has nutritional value without mycotoxins or microplastics or any of the environmental factors we worry about. So I'm using a lot of algae and a lot of greens, and trying to finish, even though I have the patents and the trademarks, I'm trying to finish that because I really want people to be able to get something they don't have to burn. They don't have to take, to the trash, or if they do, it's an algae, right? And it's positive for our environment. I want everything to go back into the environment and help clean the environment and our bodies.
That is so needed, because right now everything's in plastic. You
know what I realized? I was such an environmentalist, and this is not popular in a lot of the political arenas, but my parents were kind of hippies and were in farming. And they always talked about how important the land, air, and water was. And I would keep talking about it. And then I started realizing by working with different presidents and prime ministers and governments, the governments just don't have the money to do it. So here's what I realized. Businesses have to do it. And we have to do it by making money. And so one of the things when we first started Root, I said to Clayton, I want 50% to go back into the economies in all these countries, but I also want to use the purest sourcing, which was really expensive. Our margins were lower, but I was unwilling to compromise. And, for a business person, and he's very clinical, but from a business perspective, that has been harder for us, right? But it was really important to me because if your businesses don't start stepping up and doing this detoxing and cleaning and being dedicated to it and making money at the same time, I want to say that because I do understand as a businesswoman that we have to produce money.
Yeah.
We have to support our economies. I don't want to get rid of capitalism. I want us to be able to have it, but I also want us to take care of those weaker than us. If we don't take care of our older generations and our younger and our animals and our planet, then why are we here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sourcing's so important to me. And right now it's so easy. Anyone can launch a supplement brand and no regulation, right?
No,
It's crazy.
no. I just went through GMP certification. I registered as a scientist with the FDA and the Department of Defense. And our scores were really high, and we're continuing to continue the process to be even higher. But no, you don't have to have it. There's all kinds of ways around it. Now, I can tell you for our brand, there's not, because we are going into all these countries that will, like, I'll give you an example. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, UAE, they won't let synthetic pesticides in anymore.
Wow.
Well, I produced a skincare coda, which is for animals, and then environment that are for people to help repel things. I didn't go after EPA because it's not a pesticide. I didn't use any synthetics. And so I think the governments are locking down more and more. So to get the products we have into countries, they send out our products to their country for third-party testing. So we can't even get in unless they test. It's not just our testing. So we do third-party testing here too. We have high scores, high certifications, but it says a lot that we're in 90 countries and we're continuously, I shouldn't ever complain, but it's continuous effort. It's a lot of work just to work with individual registration, certification, and compliance.
I bet 90 countries, and each one's probably different. So
They're
it's
all
a
different.
whole process.
Yeah. It's a continue, and everyone has a different regulation. It does carry weight that we make things in the United States, right, in North America. But again, they don't trust us either in some countries because of the GMOs. And because of their countries, they want to make sure we're not bringing things in. And to be honest, I'm fine with it because I understand they're looking out for the people in their population as well, and they should be.
Yeah. How much does that made in the USA label actually matter? Because I just saw some clip where the meat in the grocery store, even if it says made in the USA, doesn't mean the cow is from the USA.
That's true. Because so if you look at our products, we source from all over the world. One of the things that was my goal, because I am an American citizen and I'm proud to be an American citizen, but I also think every human being is connected. All of our DNA, like we're connected, Sean, to a leaf on a tree. So you can't tell me what happens in Russia or Ukraine doesn't impact us. It does. It travels. Do you know that nuclear waste, Agent Orange, all this stuff doesn't even leave the stratosphere?
Really?
No. So
Wow.
everything is impacted by, we're all connected. So I source different ingredients. Now a lot of the ingredients I source only have one location in the world that they're made. If you look at, for example, some of our greens formula, there's some of those sources that are only found in certain places. If you look at Zero In, that's from a vine or a root with velvet bean and pine bark, there's only one place I could get it, but then I clean it. So that's the difference in what we do. I make sure that it's tested for the mycotoxins. I make sure that we're looking at any kind of bacteria or fungus or virus and everything. I want people to know this. You can get that with the food you eat and not just from the air.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
We've all got to be aware of that. You asking about sushi, people need to understand you can get all of these things from raw fish. So you've really got to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to. And then you have to make a decision the best you can. So made in the USA, in my opinion, it's like organic, right? I'm not 100% for the thinking, I'm not comfortable just because it's made in the USA.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable just because it's organic. There's so many other factors that go into it that people need to understand when they're reviewing things. If you're taking a vitamin C or a creatine, right? Creatine and peptides hold on to a lot of different heavy metals, toxins. Who cleaned them? Are they clean? Are you injecting yourself with a NAD formula that you don't know if it's been cleaned and stabilized? I don't have the answers for everyone because it's not regulated. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And as a mother of four, this became such a mission for me that I'm not going to lie. I'm going to do everything that I say I'm going to do. I'm going to try my very best to get everything out. And some days it feels impossible.
Yeah, I bet.
I'll be honest with you. And then if I ever catch something that's not exactly what I want, it kind of ruins my day. And I'm back to like, what someone said to me the other day, Christina, which one is it? Are you love people so much and you care so much, but sometimes you, when it comes to business, are extremely hard and difficult. And I'm like, I'm a perfectionist because anything that I'm putting out there, if I'm hurting someone, that's not okay, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm teaching my children that I don't have to do the things that I say I'm doing, then we've got a problem. I think that's one of the problems we have right now in our world. And so made in the USA is important, but find out the other details around that. GMP certification, organic, all that stuff's important, but find out all the information. What is it packaged in? How did they source it? What did they do after they got it? Did they test it? Test it after it was done. So for example, I test when we get it, before it's put into the actual ingredient, into the process and formulation, and everything is a process that I have patented or is a proprietary process, and then we test it after.
Wow.
And then if something happens, like we retest if there's any issue because of the concern I always have with any product.
I mean, you're seeing a lot of food recalls this year. Like it's almost every day at this point.
Yeah, I think that hopefully though that means that we're testing things more. That's what I'm hoping when I look at that. I don't know exactly what that's happening. I think people are starting to be more aware, Sean. Yeah. And I think that a lot of it is the younger generation because they're not buying into just eat this, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Organic's no longer enough for me. I used to blindly trust it as long as I had the little O.
No, I know, sometimes natural is actually better than organic. We try to go for both. But then I go for free trade, and I don't just go for free trade. I go for free trade and organic. So I make sure that people are treated well wherever we're sourcing things. And then I make sure that also everything's organic and they're testing it and everything else.
I love it. Yeah. I love the farmer's market. That's like my number one.
Too. I love the farmer's market.
Yeah. You can't beat that because the energy component, you're helping out a local business.
100%. It's one of my big things. We go every Saturday if I'm home. I'm not home a lot. But then when I go into different cities, I go to the farmer's market.
Yeah. Santa Monica, I think. Or there's one in Cali that's really good.
We've gone to
Calabasas.
Yeah, we've gone to a couple in California. We're in LA a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good ones in Cali.
They also have really great like trade events and stuff in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like bartering?
Yeah.
That's cool. That needs to be brought back.
I think so too.
I'm a big fan of bartering. We just started a garden.
I grew up with that. I grew up in a small town in Dexter, Missouri, about 5,000 people. And that's just how I grew up. That's all I know. It was really hard to transition to being a businesswoman and a scientist because where I grew up, you just shook hands and you agreed to things and it was just part of our community.
I love it.
And there was no arrogance attached. If you were a farmer or you worked on the farm, I can tell you at where I grew up, my parents, we were working alongside everyone else. And there was no question. You're up at 5:30 in the morning. If they want you to work, you're going to be working. And that was every weekend.
That's where you got your work ethic.
My mom and dad.
Love it. Yeah. Community. I think when you move to major cities, you kind of lose that sometimes.
Yeah. I think you lose the, there's something to be said by being held accountable and responsible and being obligated to do the right thing. When you go into a city, I remember the first time I felt freedom from being in a city because no one knew what I was doing or cared. And then finally one day I realized, but spiritually, everything I'm doing is impacting me. So like there's a higher resonance, right, in life and God knows what I'm doing. So I can no longer say, but there is a freedom of being somewhere and not being accountable. But ultimately, that's not helping us. We all need to be accountable.
Absolutely. Accountability is everything. Where are you going next? I know you travel everywhere, but...
So I think I get to go home for a couple of days. I'm having an older son getting married. So we're planning that and I'm super excited. And then I'm going to London. We have a Mind, Body, and Spirit convention. And then I'm doing some stuff, as I said, with the school systems. And I have just been invited, I think, to one of the embassies to meet with one of the ambassadors. So that's where I'll be going.
Amazing. I can't wait to support you. We'll have a link for all the products in the video as well.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I hope that I can have you on my podcast, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the world spiritually and then from an information perspective. Because if we can get stuff out there to everyone, then we can make major changes.
Absolutely. Yeah, check her out, guys. Check out her show and check out Root Brands. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
See you guys.